Hello, hello, hello.
Sensei,
Hi
Genki?
there. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can. And you?
Oh, but I can't hear you.
1, 2, 3,
Just give me
1,
one
2,
sec.
3. How long have you been teaching English for?
Now I'm gonna feel old. Around 10 years now.
Yeah, 10 years.
hmm
Could you please list your certificates? It's quite a long list.
Yep.
Very impressive. There is a one spelling mistake. It's something I do all the time.
Do I? Where?
Language. English language. Langau. This is something I do. This is just a typo.
Oh, okay. No, that's great. So I can fix it.
Yes.
Thank you for telling me.
So you have a BA in English language
And literature. Yes.
and literature. Yes.
TEFL, TOT, TESOL.
So let's just the next one is teach English now.
Yes.
What is that? This is an online course?
Yes, this is from the Arizona State University. They offer some teacher training courses. And when I pivoted 2 years ago to online teaching, I had to be trained to teach online. So it was part of that. You have online teacher, distant teacher, you have curriculum design, and so on and so forth.
I see. And then you are IELTS. I've always struggled pronouncing this IELTS.
IELTS,
An
yes.
IELTS specialist.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
So,
how
do you know the
take
exam?
No, I don't know, but I've heard of it. Yes, I know of it.
So it's an international proficiency exam. So I teach students how to pass that exam, strategies for it, because it is not only about English, it's about academic English mostly.
I see.
So for example, you might be very good at English, but you don't know how to write an academic essay. That's very possible. So
that's true of our native languages too, right?
Exactly, yeah. So everything related to IELTS, I'd be helping students passing that.
Are you a believer in taking tests? If it were up to you, would you dispense with tests completely, or you think they are necessary? Language tests, I mean.
That's a very, very hard question, man.
No, for me it's very easy. I don't believe in testing.
In a utopia, you won't need tests. But we need tests institutionally.
No, I'm talking about language tests again. Language tests.
Yeah,
I'm not talking about math, science, and all that.
Of course, I wouldn't comment on these other things. Yeah. Because, for example, just think with me here. Language tests are almost never accurate. It is impossible to have like a really, really good language test. We have IELTS, TOEFL, TOEIC, OPIC, it doesn't matter. All of them are flawed. However, the problem is, let's say that you are Tokyo University, for example, or Keio University, and you have 2,000 applicants and you need to screen them very fast. How can you do that? So unfortunately, like I said,
with other tests, not language tests.
I'm talking about language tests.
But my answer is with other tests, without the language tests. So I'm not arguing against all type of testing. For me, it's about language testing.
I am also talking about language tests. Okay. So, for example, if you are studying in an English-speaking country, how am I going as a university? How am I going to see if you be accepted or can understand the lectures? Then you will have to do a proficiency test like TOEFL. That's the job for these tests. Again, I have 2,000 applicants. It is not feasible to interview all of them. I see your point.
Yeah, I see your point.
So,
but again, to me, this should be the last on the list of things to test. This is my point. I'm not saying there should be no testing. But language testing, to me, makes no sense. But that's something I'll ask you later on. And then your TEFL and TESOL is the pronunciation? TESOL.
Yes.
This is about teaching English. So this is all about teaching.
English. Okay. Of course. Teaching English as a foreign language and teaching English to speakers of other languages. TESOL,
TEFL. This is also an online course, or?
Sure.
Okay. And then this TOT.
Yes. Trainers of trainers.
Trainers of trainers. Okay.
So I am a certified teacher trainer.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's something I wanted to ask you about. Yes. Teach English Now and online teaching specialist. Yes. So I wanted to ask you, I've already asked you a few questions, but the first, big question I want to ask you is, what's the role of a language teacher? From all those certificates and educational background.
This sounds like a job interview. Is to facilitate somebody's learning, because unfortunately, although a teacher is very important to guide, there is still a big load on the shoulders of the learner. But however, imagine like an energy, a flow of the river, yeah? A flow of a river. A dam is to guide it through the right way, right? That's the job of a teacher. You have this...
Sorry to interrupt. Energy. When we talk about adults, I want to make sure you understand that. I'm not talking about children. I'm talking about adults, rational thinkers, people who should know what they want.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So same answer?
Help to get the goal. So I'll ask you, what is your goal of learning English? We have people who have business English, for example, English for IT. I've taught many people like that, or people who want to just go through the IELTS and so on and so forth, for example, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have to facilitate their learning process. So provide them with the right sources, help them. Like you said, for example, adults are very analytical. So they might ask a lot of questions that children don't ask. They might ask you like, oh, but why is this here and not there?
Grammar questions. You mean grammar questions?
Everything. Completely analytical. But children, for example, they just accept it as is. So you just facilitate.
Yeah, let me tell you my definition of what a teacher is supposed to do. Definition? My understanding.
Concept.
Mm-hmm. Yes, my answer, exactly. Language teachers, any teachers for that matter, are supposed to teach the student how to learn alone without a teacher. How to become an independent learner.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree with that?
Depends, but of course, metalinguistics is important. And like I said, that's what I'm saying by facilitating, to make it a smooth process. However, that goes like even with the CEFR, I don't know if you're familiar with it. No. Even with the CFR, you are an independent, autonomous learner after B1. So it doesn't work all the time, and it doesn't work for all objectives. If you're doing IELTS, yes, there are things that you can do on your own, and the teacher can help you go through them alone. However, there are things that you need to guide them more closely, let's say. So I would say I agree, but it depends.
So you don't think that one size fits all?
Of course not. Impossible.
You see,
there are some students...
I believe in the exact opposite. I do believe that one size fits all when it comes to language learning. I don't think they're different. But yeah. Okay, tell me, what is language to you? In order to find out who's right, who's wrong.
It's a way to communicate with people.
Okay. When you say communicate, what do you mean by communicate? Speak?
Everything. Communicate. Everything. Written, oral, doesn't matter.
Written, oral. So you have two choices, not everything. But when you say communicate, I think 99.999% of people think about speak. Give information, right?
You want? Sure.
Yeah. You see, to me, language is the exact opposite. Language is a tool for acquiring knowledge.
But how do you acquire knowledge without communication?
Reading and listening.
Okay, that's written.
How do you become a medical doctor? How do you become an engineer? How do you become a physician, a scientist? How do you become a historian? Yeah.
Language.
Through communication or through reading?
Reading is communication.
No. Reading is communication. What do you mean by reading is communication?
So if I write something, I communicate to you my information.
So when I say I need to communicate, you mean I need to read?
Everything.
No.
Communication means getting info from one point, from me to you. regardless of the means. If I am writing something to you on Skype, isn't that communication?
Speaking and writing means giving information. To me, it's the exact opposite. It's about getting information, getting knowledge. Do you understand?
How can you get knowledge without somebody giving you that knowledge?
But that's not called... So maybe you could say that they're communicating knowledge to me. But when people say tool for communication, I told you, 99.99999% of people say speak. Speak. Not even write. I don't think many people come to you and ask you how to write. In terms of creative writing. They might ask you how to write grammatically correct sentences, but in terms of creative writing, I don't think this is the platform. And with no offense, I don't think you're the person to go to. For example, if I wanted to write on the topic of economics.
Okay.
Academic paper to publish.
It depends.
Creative writing. I'm talking about scientific writing. I'm not talking about correcting grammatical proofreading. That's different. That's okay.
Sure.
To proofread, it's okay. But that's not communication, right? That's proofreading. So for the vast majority of people, when I say vast, I mean vast with a capital V. Communication means I give you information. I talk. Basically talk. When you say the verb communicate, in the dictionary it says speak, talk. Doesn't say read. Synonyms. Okay? Tool for communication for most people means I speak. That's why we have practice speaking. There is no school for practice reading and that kind of stuff. To me, language is a tool for acquiring knowledge, getting information. You see what I mean?
I see your point, but
so please tell me. So sorry to kind of keep it long. Yeah.
Think about it like this.
Sorry, one last thing. To me, speaking is a byproduct of knowledge acquisition. One more time.
Sure.
Speaking is a byproduct of knowledge acquisition. It's like a bonus. Speaking is not the goal. Speaking is a bonus. So what do you think about language?
You studied economics, right? I am Adam Smith and I died. And I want to communicate my knowledge with others. What do I do? Even after I'm dead.
Yeah.
What do I do? I write a book.
Yeah.
How do the others gain that knowledge and receive that knowledge?
Others gain that knowledge. They don't communicate that knowledge. Others get that knowledge.
That's fine.
Yes. So language is a tool for acquiring knowledge.
One-sided.
You can only give knowledge if you have it. You can't give something you don't have. You can only communicate something once you've gained the knowledge. Do you understand? So gaining is always first. Even children, they get information from their parents and then they speak.
Sure.
Yeah. So Adam Smith does no need example with Adam Smith.
Communicate, it just means sending or receiving. It must be simultaneously both ways. So in that way, we still need the oral and the written forms. Both ways are still communication.
But not speaking and writing, but reading and listening.
I don't think so. I mean, you are free to think whatever you like.
Of course.
At the end, it's not like that. No.
So how is it? So
because you can exchange information that is communication, and still you can use communicate as a verb just to give. I communicated to him that I wasn't comfortable with this. Right? What does that mean? I gave him a sign. I implied something. Right? So in that way, that's completely fine. So it doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be all the time both ways. And just like I said, if somebody is dead and you're reading their book, he or she is communicating.
She is communicating to me, but I am acquiring knowledge through language. Yes. So to me, language is a tool for getting knowledge.
Exactly.
When I have the knowledge, I can pass it on to somebody else, and I can transmit it to somebody else. But I need the knowledge first.
What if you have the knowledge and you want to send it? That's also communication, right? Through language. So again, that's the same.
Yes, but I have I'm not a learner anymore. I have the knowledge. Okay. Yes, I'm not the learner. Yes, I'm talking about from the viewpoint of learners, but even children. Language is a tool for acquiring knowledge, for getting information.
Sure.
Yes.
I mean, communication is getting information. Yeah.
Communication is getting information. I need to communicate this information means I need to understand this information. No, of course not. Yes, I need to give it to somebody else. This is the verb communicate. That's what people think about language. That's why they want to speak. That's why they want to practice their speaking. That's what all these schools are for. iTalki, Lingoda, this one here. People don't come on such platforms to gain knowledge. They don't come to learn chemistry. They don't come to learn physics, to learn biology, to learn economics.
They want to learn the means for these things.
They want to learn vocabulary and grammar. And vocabulary and grammar are not knowledge. Vocabulary and grammar are to language what glossaries and footnotes are to a book. They are there to convey the meaning, but they're not the focus. Sorry, they could be the focus if the person wants to be a linguist. Then the language becomes the knowledge, etymology and syntax and all that stuff. That's not what people are on such platforms for. I think you would agree.
Sure.
Vocabulary and grammar are to language what glossaries and footnotes are to a book. Imagine learning economics and all you do is read the list of specialized terminology and just read the footnotes and then complain that you can't talk about economics. Why can't I talk about economics? I mean, I spend so much time reading vocabulary lists, and you see, people never say that. But when it comes to language, that's all they complain about. I spend so much time, but I can't speak. Of course you can't speak because you don't acquire knowledge through the language. That's why language tests don't work.
Or like adjacent models. You are studying language or other things in a more authentic way. Like, for example, if you study economics in English, it is
That's
a way
how I learn English
as well.
That's how I learned English.
What I mean? That is a way to learn English. I understand that model, but I think our
language doesn't exist without knowledge. Language doesn't exist without knowledge.
Of course, because it is the way to
convey
knowledge.
So it's not one way. So it's not one way. No, because going back to one size fits all. There's no other way to learn a language except for acquire knowledge through language. Because language without knowledge does not exist. It's hollow.
Mm-hmm.
Words without...
Of course.
Yes. So there's no other way. This is my point. One size fits all. Language is a... I don't say language, I say speaking. Speaking is a byproduct of knowledge acquisition.
What is the one size that you're thinking of?
Language is a tool for acquiring knowledge. That's it. You can't acquire language without knowledge. That's it. There's no other way.
But what you're saying now is so broad that is not the same as when specialists say one size doesn't fit all. So let me explain that. For example, you're saying we need knowledge, we need a core to build the language around it. And I agree. Yes. So what happens is, we as teachers, when we're teaching somebody, that core changes, and that's why we say one size doesn't fit all. So for example, somebody's core might be economics. Others might be something different. Like I said, if I'm teaching for an exam, that would be something different as well. So that core changes, and also the model of teaching and learning changes. When I teach one-to-one, it's different from teaching, groups or children and adults, or different goals. You said, for example, maybe we don't really have a lot of writing on these platforms. Now, there are two reasons for this. First, because of the traditional model of English teaching in general. in most cases, people study at schools, but they didn't have the chance to practice the speaking skill.
You said
That's
practice speaking. The word practice and speak should not be used in the same sentence. Practice and language, there's nothing to practice.
Let me finish. So practice speaking.
But no, you said no. I will let you. I will let you speak. But what you just said is the Earth is flat, therefore. So it's very hard for me to let you continue with this premise. Do you understand what I mean?
But that's definitely not like the Earth is flat.
No, because when you say they need to practice their speaking, to me this sounds. To me, you know how it sounds when you study history. When you study history, do you ever think I need to practice my speaking history? Have you ever think I need to practice speaking history? I need to practice my economics speaking. I need to practice my chemistry speaking.
Mm-hmm. So first, yes.
Oh, really? Okay.
If you are driving a car, you learn the basics of driving a car. Most people know if you do this, you go right. If you do this, you go left. But in order to do it without thinking that much, to make it more subconscious, what do?
Driving is a motor skill, language is a cognitive skill. I know what you mean, but it's not practice. This is not practice.
Cognitive skills
it means knowledge. No, cognitive skill is knowledge. If you want to know more about history, you read more about history. You don't pay to talk about history or economics. You just get more information.
What if you say, what about the person who has a job in IT, for example, and they want to practice themselves speaking relating to specific topics?
Language is a tool for acquiring knowledge. Speaking is a byproduct of knowledge acquisition. That's it. That's it.
No.
Okay.
Because if you know something, that does not mean that you can freely speak about it, or even explain it.
Yes. That's why when I ask you, what are you knowledgeable about? When I say I'm knowledgeable about economics, that implies I can talk on the topic of economics. If you say I'm
can you explain well?
Well, I mean, there are degrees, there are levels to well, but when you say I'm knowledgeable about,
that's just no
physics. That means
just no.
Yes.
So if you know something, that does not necessarily mean you can communicate it well. And that's the point when I say somebody wants to be more confident explaining their IT project in English. That doesn't mean that they don't know anything about their IT project, but they might need guidance on how specific expressions can be used in English, or how can be just more confident because they did it actually.
So the language teachers teach confidence. This is your point.
No. Confidence is gained, not taught.
To me, if you're a confident speaker of your native language, the chances are you'll be a confident speaker of a foreign language. To me, confidence is confidence, regardless of language, but that's another thing. You said you have 10 years of experience teaching. I have 12. You see, no matter how it looks, I really enjoy this. I enjoyed, actually. We are about this conversation. So I'm not angry. I am really passionate about this. And I hope you kind of, I didn't want to tell you at the beginning, kind of catch you off guard.
It looked like it was kind of an interview almost.
Not interview, it's just a discussion. Why interview? Why would you say interview? I'm not interviewing you, but it's just a discussion because, again, I was impressed by your achievements and certificates. I think that language cannot be taught. I think that foreign language as a separate school subject should not exist, because language is about acquiring knowledge. In a language classroom, there is no knowledge. And language without knowledge does not exist. I don't think schools, marketplaces like italki, Lingoda should exist, because there's no such thing as practice speaking. I bet you didn't practice your speaking. I bet you didn't spend much money practicing.
You did not finish. Let me finish the second part of what I was going to say. Even general English courses, let's say, they do have knowledge because they are thematic. So, for example,
nobody goes for the. I've been teaching for 12 years. I know everything before you even say it. Situational language, situational. Yeah, I know.
So
I can where you're going, where you're headed.
How did I learn English then? How did you learn English then?
I told you, through economics, through knowledge. The same way you've watched. This is an educated guess. A lot of media in English, American English. A lot of movies, a lot of TV shows. I bet you spend more time listening than reading. When I say reading, I mean proper knowledge. I got it through economics and through news articles. Basically, language is a tool for acquiring knowledge, information. You're much younger than me. I grew up in Bulgaria. When I was a child, we were behind the Iron Curtain. There were no American, of course, no internet, no American movies, no British movies. I grew up with Russian nonsense. Mm-hmm. So when the wall fell, I was already at university. Anyway, my point is, I bet you started watching at a much younger age, consume a lot of information, probably more in English than Arabic, because your accent is almost native-like.
So how would you distinguish between learning and acquisition?
You learned as a child. I'm talking about adults. That's why
I'm asking a question. That's something separate now. Acquisition and learning. What's the difference?
There's no acquisition. It has to be conscious. Information is first. That's why I said adults. Information, knowledge is first, but we need to spend time studying consciously. But no need for a teacher. And that's the job of the teacher, to teach the student how to learn consciously alone. Acquisition. There is acquisition parts of unconscious or subconscious, but there is necessity for there is a need for conscious studying. It doesn't happen like a child.
I agree that it doesn't happen as a child. Yeah. We're both on the same boat here, but
no. You learned as a child. I learned as an adult.
Yeah. I know. But there's a huge
That's why your accent is better than mine.
A lot of studies about these things. I would recommend, since you are a big reader and you love reading, I actually don't like reading that much. Maybe Krashen?
Krashen, Krashen, no. I know Krashen. What was it? Comprehensible input. No comprehensible input. Compelling information, something you are interested in, not watered down text, not dumbed down things.
Depends on the level.
No. Dictionaries. That's
translation is not always the best way. Again,
monolingual dictionaries, English to English dictionaries.
How can you give someone who's A1 a monolingual dictionary and say, okay, you do it yourself? That's
how I did it. But anyway, I really enjoy.
That's why it's one size not fit all.
Anyway, yes, I really enjoyed this conversation. I hope you too. It was not an interrogation. I will not report you to the police. Don't worry about it. I will not hire you either. But I enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Of course. See you later then.
Take it easy.
Have a good one.
You too.
Bye-bye.
I really did. I was challenged, and I appreciated that. It's a lot of things in this video. Anyway, everything you need to know. No Krashen. Everything you need to know about how to learn a foreign language, you can find in my book, Virtually Native, which is available on Amazon and virtuallynative.com. You have one life. Don't waste it.